So I just finished going to the gym in the morning, and now I'm walking to the SkyTrain station to meet up with my friend. The gym is now open, but you need to make an hour. You have to reserve your gym hours, and you're only allowed to work at the gym 1 hour a day. And mask is required if you're working at a gym.
No, okay. I need North after decoded to the one to the just the one. Just send me that one. The Northern 319 supervised that too.
Okay, we're having a little snack, and then we're going to finish Chris and Diana's episode interview, and then we're gonna go to bed.
Like all these other things that you could do, one-on-one stuff is not as good anymore.
Today, Ontario just announced like a little like scary stay-at-home measures because there's been an absolute failure of the government in order to keep cases down.
Okay, this is Matthew Wells again, April 5th, my first day of recording. I thought I would give you a bit of a tour of my quote-unquote home office. So I'm going to back up a little bit, and you can see where I work is a couch. It's a nice couch. I've been sitting at it for a little over a year, almost constantly, so I'm a little tired of it, but, you know, it does what it needs to do. See a game controller there, attached on my gaming laptop, more of that in a moment. Over here is the rec room. Exact same room, but we have various gaming consoles and other paraphernalia.
We will be denying entry to Canada to people who are not Canadian citizens.
Literally every day we learn a little bit more about it.
The government has received the advice of Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health and the COVID-19 command table, recommending that the province close down all public elementary, middle, and high schools for 2 weeks following March break. I've swiftly accepted that advice, and I've issued a ministerial order under the Education Act to close all publicly funded schools from March 14th, 2020 through to April 5th, 2020.
In regards to this project, it's really to document a turning point in our history, especially in terms of education. How we teach, how we learn, how we develop the curriculum, how we deliver the curriculum, and how do we modify it or how do we tweak it. This is really just to record the challenges, thoughts of each participant and interviewee, what they think at the time.
At first I felt like, oh okay, sure, I guess. It didn't really impact me much, but then seeing my friends and my peers basically going home one by one, flying off one by one, I sort of feel the pressure to go back home because it is the first time I've experienced like a pandemic situation in my lifetime, a worldwide emergency, and because there's a lot of uncertainties, right? That is the most unsettling part, which is the amount of uncertainties that come with it. But in terms of classwork and all of that was not one of them for me. The prime concern for me at that time was my safety and my family's safety, and if I die, am I going to die with them, right? No. And that's my main concern. But yeah, in terms of classwork, not an issue. The transition actually is kind of smooth.
So in March, there was still conversations of the pandemic only being like a 2-week shutdown and then everything reopening. So I didn't really consider changing my plans until probably June or July. MDM it was like an introduction web series where we all hopped on Zoom and they kind of gave us the lowdown. And that was the point where I kind of started considering whether or not I should delay this program a year. and whether or not doing online school would be best for me. Ultimately, I got an OGS scholarship, and that was something that was dependent on me attending Ryerson this year. So that made the choice for me. And ultimately, I think it was a good one. Like, I think going to school this year was very beneficial, especially with like job market and everything else going on.
I could feel like the tone, like there was a happy tone, you know, and there was a sad tone. You know, I was a mix. You know, I was happy that, you know, I didn't have to go to school, but then also sad, like, you know, what for did I come to Canada? Like, I came to Canada to go to class, to be able to go to class, sit next to people, and talk to them. You know, just talk to them about the talk to them about the course, make fun of the professor, make fun of the course. You know, just you go to university for that. You don't go to university to sit in a room like what we're doing right now. Just look at a screen of like Zoom and then have a lecture that way. You're literally more lazy. Like I understand like things have to be done this way, but you know, it's not university. You know what I mean? It's not the university way. You're supposed to go to class and sit down.
I wouldn't say that it's easy because I know the technology, but it's a very long process trying to get everything online. So I have the PowerPoint slides, and then I have the audio, and I have the clips, and I have to embed the clips. So it's a lot of work. But when you are more familiar with technology, of course, it saves you some time and also some anxiety, I guess.
Also, the creation of what kind of content we need to generate in order to make a course that is not only covers the main points, the main goals that we established at the beginning, but also that is engaging, that it's motivating from students, that is also clear in terms of what we expect from them. It was more work than expected on that side to adjust to adjust what we prepared during the break of the summer. And then once we started courses in fall, it all moved too fast because we were day a day not only producing but also adjusting, producing again or changing aspects of the course. So in theory, it looked like we had a lot of time. In the practice, it was probably not enough time to make something as effective as we would have expected.
I can see that everyone seems to know each other quite well. I guess you interact through Slack and probably some other channels. But yeah, everyone seems like that surprised me that people, you know each other. I mean, because you're all at home or wherever you find yourself. And yeah, that's been really encouraging as an instructor to see that level of engagements.
At the same time, I think the most negative aspect was not seeing the student, not being in class with them, connecting with them, having tea and cookies with them and popcorn, and just sharing the space, because I think that teaching is about building those relationships and growing together and seeing your students grow and learning from them. And this is done through contact, right? Being there live through this presence. And so I think that's the most negative aspect of it.
You know, the other part of communication is when we're in a room with students, we can read the room. We have eye contact. And it was very disconcerting to all of a sudden be on the Zoom environment where I've got black tiles all in front of me.
Having said that, it is nice to see a few faces, right? To see people's reactions, to see them, to kind of make it feel like it's not just you talking to a screen.
So I think that remote learning is good if you have the resources to do it. Good internet connection, good computer, I know way too many people who are in GIS who need to run this software that's required, and they can't because their computer's not good enough. And half the time the university's servers are down, which we use Citrix, which it's kind of like a remote access system. So we can access the computer labs on campus remotely, but that's down half the time, and there's also never enough seats for everyone to get into the lab, so people will need to get stuff done. There's no virtual computers available, or it's just down for maintenance or something, or it just doesn't work. But otherwise, people who are in a more privileged position, definitely online learning has its benefits, and if it can be a viable option.
I guess like everything is so close. It's hard to differentiate where's your study place and where's your resting place. So to give some context, I'm currently living in a bachelor studio. I think it's 350 or 375 square feet. Like, I shit you not right now. Like, from where I'm sitting to my bed, I'd say it's a little over 2 meters. So basically, social distancing distance. That's how far my bed is.
Conducting exams online is really not a feasible idea. You have this thing called Proctoru. Well, just to explain it, Proctoru is basically so whenever before you start an exam, you're required to turn on your camera, scan your face, scan your environment, and then while you do the exam, Proctoru tracks your eye movement or head movement. Mm-hmm. And if you go off like slightly a bit to the left or to the right, it will send a message to the instructor saying like, this person is trying to cheat. Now, that is definitely not feasible. First of all, it's an invasion of privacy. Second of all, it just don't make sense. I can't stretch my neck without getting an academic offense. Extreme, like if you put it in extreme terms.
In terms of assessment, that was another kind of stumbling block because, again, speaking from my experience in fashion, we assess fit on a dress form. And, it's very tactile. We can lift things up and figure out, whether they're fitting optimally or not. When students perceive that it's being filmed, it's being recorded, and especially if something, that they perceive as negative is said, the reaction, because it's so public, was more pronounced than I think it would be if we were just in a room together.
In the media production courses, we cannot demand too many elements in terms of quality, in terms of the process, because it's very difficult to make assignments like the ones from media production individually or with little resources. At least this was my experience. So I had to adjust my expectations in terms of grading, and for what I see, students also were expecting us to have that in mind, and some of them stated that in emails or in conversations, and I assured that that's something that was in the equation.
This is like 2 assignments in one presentation and 1 paper. This one I done the research, but I have to write, have not started at all, in a sense, because regardless if we do work in person or online, it's still submitted online. It's still submitted as a PDF or a doc file, right? So in that sense, the standards never really dropped. The professors just gave accommodations during the start of the pandemic, but as we go 1 year, the standard just, I would say the accommodation just wore off. Like there's no more accommodations for that. Yeah.
The bare minimum used to be coming to class and doing the assignments, and now the bare minimum has changed to coming to class, doing discussion boards or participation marks, and It has created a lot of busy work for students to prove that they're paying attention in class, when previously in-person class, the expectation was just coming, or sometimes just handing in the assignments.
So we all met in smaller groups of 30 every week in the individual 5 sections. So we always took attendance. So if somebody was missing, we would follow up. Not because we were giving marks for attendance, because if you weren't there, we wanted to know why. And by sending that email to say, hey, I noticed you weren't there, just reaching out, you know, it left the door open for that person to come back to you and say, you know what, here's what's going on with me, right? So in that sense, we also were much more, let's say, relaxed about the rules.
I think that the professors need more workshops, more technical help, although we did get some. And I think they need more support. People with small children, which is not my case. My kids are 17 and 20, so they don't need me to be there as much as, you know, parents who have smaller kids. So I think we need more resources for the parents who have younger kids and families or family members they're taking care of.
We do get that. You're not getting the full experience, but you get that you're paying a lot of money to get a university experience, and you're not getting the whole experience. And that does weigh on our minds, at least it weighs on my mind. Like I said, I'm not sure if it weighs on everybody's mind, but definitely weighs on my mind.
It'd be good to see professors taking into account that students have a variety of learning needs, and they're not always the same between all students. So it was really nice to see, for example, as I mentioned earlier, how that one professor, she provided accommodation for people in different time zones by having multiple office hours at different times throughout the day. One during the afternoon and one at midnight for people in a different time zone on the other side of the world. And people could attend the office hour they wanted, and different opportunities to earn marks.
What I'm missing in online learning is that 5 or 10 minutes before class that you're able just to chat with someone about things that are not essentially school related. And it's something that I found I'm missing this year.
The one problem I have with all of this is, and I share this thought with a lot of my friends, is how the fuck are we supposed to go back to in-person exams after this? You know, I think a year of online classes has got us so used to open book exams and looking back at our notes to answer, you know, to answer shit. Even though, you know, it's argued that, you know, in real life you would, you know, do a lot of open book stuff. You know, you would be able to go and look at a lot of stuff. But, you know, exams are part of university, and obviously we're going to revert back to in-person, right? And that means we're going to go back to in-person exams. So I'm only more worried about the people in first year right now that are doing online exams, right? How the hell are they gonna, you know, relearn how to do in-person exams after COVID?
I guess I'm looking forward to releasing myself of the fear of, you know, bringing something home to my family or my elderly parents, or, you know, to just get back into a rhythm of life that isn't so all-consuming worrying about the pandemic and what it's done to all levels of our lives. You know, who would have ever thought this would have gone on as long as it did? We all thought, oh, well, 3 months of this and we'll be out of it, right? And here it's been, 15 or 16 months of this kind of different way of living, right? So I'm looking forward to that ending, and of course being able to travel again.
So Albert asked me, since there's this announcement by Doug Ford saying, hey Trudeau, we should close the borders, and Trudeau is like, okay, we'll work with you and close it. So there's news floating around saying that they might ban entry for international students into Canada. Ever since that news came out, I changed my plans. I would like, as of right now, I should be halfway through my quarantine, but in Malaysia, but as you can see right now, I'm in Canada. I delayed my flight to the 20th. I don't know whether I will go through with it or will I still delay it, but we'll see. So far, I think the way it's going, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't close it. But I'm not gonna take my chances. Well, I still have the 18th to decide. That's 18 is when I supposedly take my COVID test before I fly. And I think if everything goes well, if everything goes as planned, I will be back. I will be out and about by the 31st. No, 20 plus 14. I'll be out by June the 4th. But June the 1st is when Ontario's stay-at-home orders will be lifted. June 2nd, sorry. So I don't know. I'm at a crossroads right now.
You're not gonna have a lot of people that are gonna be happy with that because they can't come back to Canada. They can't do in-person classes, right? And in the off chance that that universities decide to do in-person classes, and we still can't in-person classes for the fall semester, and the Ontario government actually says nope, still no international students, we're gonna have a lot of students that are gonna cancel their tuition fees or waive their tuition fees and say no, I'm just gonna do gap year. I'm not gonna give the university and Canada any cent of my money this year. And then that leads on to my second reason why it shouldn't be put into place. For the exact same reason that people are not gonna be spending money on the tuition, because the universities actually make most of their money from us, from the international students, because we pay like 5 times the amount of money than domestic students have because they're paying tax. But then we're not paying tax. We pay like, 5,000. I pay 5,200 a month per credit. Just saying, that's a lot. If we're gonna have like half the students that are quitting courses, that are quitting university for a year, that's literally half the potential income, and that's probably gonna make the university be like, okay, I'm sorry, we're gonna have to charge the people who do decide to do the courses extra money in order to break even or to reduce costs, or maybe even reduce the quality of teaching, and that's not good.
So being able to talk with students, sort of, especially that before time, right? Feeling more like you're all participating in something together. I'll really look forward to that.
Made more friends in the past year than I have pretty much in my entire time at university. And it might be interesting to actually meet those people in person.
Having more genuine moments with my friends and family. For example, like sharing a meal together, having cookouts, doing activities together, or going on trips together, without having to worry about, accidentally spreading COVID to them.
Put it bluntly, I just want to see my parents. And I just want to be able to just go around, just go across the world freely. No quarantines, no restrictions, no more racism against Asians. Like I haven't been a target, but I know there have been targets. You can see all over the news. I just want all these things to end.
What I hope there's been a change is for a huge influx of empathy. That's what I hope for. That's the way I greeted my class, and I had 4 other CUPE members who were teaching with me, and we established how we were going to be in this course, which was invitational, to accept that everybody was coming from their own place and their own space, and our goal was to have students be successful.